what kind of games were you playing during those kind of younger years? Was it you were kind of like always playing like the competitive kind of multiplayer kind of style games? Were you kind of like, I know there's like a big battle royale kind of scene of like the PUBGs were coming through, the DayZs. Were
Mhm.
you kind of on that bandwagon before Fortnite or something else?
I would say probably the biggest impactful game in terms of, like, pushing myself as a gamer was probably Gears of War. Have you ever played Gears of War, Adam?
I remember I got my Xbox 360,
Yeah.
and there were two games I got. Two games when it first came out. The first one was arguably one of my favorite games, if not my favorite of all time, Mass Effect. Mass
Oh,
Effect was just
okay.
like the one. A buddy of mine worked at like a Blockbuster. God rest Blockbuster. Blockbuster Video, kind of the video store, and he was like, "Look, you got to get Mass Effect. This kind of space RPG. It's sick." I was like, "Okay, I'm in. I'm in." And he goes, "And you've also got to get like because Gears of War as well was like the Xbox, it was like the game. Like it
Yeah.
was like the kind of like the Xbox IP that was like the number one you must have in anyone's collection because it's it's class. It's like third person cover shooter, but you're kind of like chainsawing demons' faces off. And I was like, dude, I'm so in. I am so in. Yes. And it was gory. It was bloody. I mean, and it was great. And the graphics were good enough then as well that it kind of felt like it really felt a lot more kind of immersive. And as console gamers, yeah,
Yeah.
mate, dude, Gears of War was great. But the multiplayer. Now, were you kind of single player in this, or were you kind of multiplayer in this?
Not almost strictly multiplayer, seriously, and
Really, dude, I
yeah,
did not
yeah,
know
yeah,
that.
yeah. And like I mentioned, I credit a lot of how good I am at video games today because of Gears. Where I spent so many hours on Gears, like, but Gears was like such a competitive game for just like queuing up into like a regular match. Like it felt like everybody wanted to win. And so that alone was good. Like for example, if you play Call of Duty, and back then I don't really know if like skill based matchmaking was kind of like a thing, but let's be honest, if you jumped into a Call of Duty game, you weren't really sure who you're gonna kind of go up against. You know what I mean? You might
Hmm.
get somebody who's a little bit newer. Just so many people played Call of Duty that it felt like there was just what I mean, the people that you actually got into it, it really, really mattered. But Gears of War, I don't know, it just felt like every match that I jumped into, it felt competitive. Like it felt like the other team was at a certain level to where it wasn't just like, oh, I can just completely stomp these guys if without trying. Now, granted, trust me, Adam, I completely stomped them regardless. You know what I'm
I
saying?
don't doubt it, mate. I don't doubt it.
But yeah, Gears was good because think about Gears, and if anybody kind of doesn't know about Gears, Adam was kind of speaking about it a little bit right there. It's this third person game. You have typically the loadout was you had a rifle and then you had a shotgun. Now, shotgunning was the skill part of the game. And now a lot of people argue like if you were watch competitive Gears, it's actually rifling because you want to hide behind cover and kind of maintain this position, this position. So that's kind of like competitive Gears. But for like just running the pub matches, it was like the shotgun. That's how you prove to other people that you were kind of good. And the reason why the shotgun was so good is because there's this thing in Gears of War called wall bouncing. You could kind of make your character move to a wall and then cancel that animation and then go to another wall. And the faster you
Oh
could kind of
yeah.
do that, yeah, the faster you kind of do that was like how good you were at Gears. So the cool thing about Gears is that it has the gun aspect, right? Which almost all kind of like competitive games that I usually play have. So I was learning how to use like a shotgun close range rifle from long range. There was kind of like utility and weapon spawns on the map that you kind of wanted to control and learning timing. So Gears is just teaching you all that, and then on top of it, had that mechanical side where it was like, okay, then you also need to kind of grind out the wall bouncing mechanic and all of that. So Gears was like the perfect game to learn almost everything in terms of like being able to transition those similar ideas to different games. Because if you think about like Fortnite, where I actually made a competitive career, positioning, awesome. You need to maintain kind of like these certain objectives, whether it be like up on a hill or something like that. Gears had the same thing. Weapon spawns, kind of like the same thing. Sometimes they were up high, sometimes they were down low. Obviously, the gun aspect, the shotgun aspect, Fortnite had that. How I can kind of get closer to people, and then the mechanics, right? Yeah, wall bouncing and building in Fortnite completely two different things, but having a mechanical skill set and combining that with everything else is kind of what Gears kind of taught me. So I credit a lot of it to Gears, seriously, because Gears was ahead of its time, and I wish I could like jump back into those games and just start like getting into it again. But we all know games fall out of favor for us personally, and then for the wider scene of gaming as well. But yeah, Gears was an awesome game.
Yeah, it was great, and there is still obviously there is still a competitive scene out there. There is still it is still a
Yeah,
thing, but it's just nowhere near. I guess it's just nowhere near as prominent or prevalent as the likes of Fortnite now, which is kind of
yeah,
every single home. Plus, the fact that Fortnite's kind of still seen as kind of like family esque, whereas Gears was a
Yeah.
little. It was a little bit kind of like,
Chainsaws.
I mean, and the close up kind of the POVs of just like hacking faces was
Yeah.
pretty intense. But I mean, I didn't know. I mean, that makes a lot of sense as well because there aren't many games as well now. You mentioned like Call of Duty and stuff, which is kind of FPS focused. You know, you got kind of first person perspective. I guess with Fortnite as well, you have the fact that you are a third person and you're already kind of getting used to that kind of like visually as well. Like, you know,
Yeah.
the user interface, like you know what you're kind of looking at, you know how you're kind of like how to manage your HUD as well. But when it comes to, I mean, when it comes to Fortnite, that transition you made from like when Fortnite comes out, because I remember where I was. I remember when Fortnite came out, and I remember it was this game where it just kind of came out of nowhere. It just kind of dropped on my,
Yeah.
I'm a PlayStation gamer, comes out, and it's like, oh, it's this new free game to play. It's in beta. Probably still is. I have no idea. Is it still in beta? I don't even know.
I think it
Uh,
is technically.
it's still beta. All these years later, all these billions of dollars made later. It was kind of like in this beta, and I remember the focal point was save the world mode, right? So everything was about,
Yeah.
oh, it's this PVE kind of like, you know, kind of survival, kind of round based, kind of like Call of Duty zombies, kind of like, you know, keep going until you possibly can't stop. But then there was that other kind of side to it, which was kind of the building side. So what was it for you, that kind of entry point into Fortnite? Like, how did you find this? Who were you playing with? What was the kind of story behind you kind of going, this is kind of a little bit of me?
So I'm happy that one little question that you threw in there was, who were you playing with? Because I haven't kind of tapped into like who I was playing with for a very long portion of my like, gaming career. Really, I mean, it had to be like when I don't know exactly when, but I met this guy on Gears of War. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was Gears of War, and his name was his real name is Ryan. His in-game name Precise. And Precise, I played everything with. I mean, whether it would have been Minecraft, Gears of War, Call of Duty, Borderlands, whatever we were playing, we were usually playing together. You know what I mean? We had like a routine, hop on, game all night, and then fall asleep for like 5 hours and be absolutely zombified in the morning going to school, right? Everybody knows those stories. But Precise was that guy for me. You know what I mean? The guy that I just duoed everything with. And when Fortnite came out, still on Xbox at this point, and he was like, yo, let's try it. So hopped on, tried it, played for about, maybe like 5 months because, to give everybody a timeline here that I'll be talking about, I think Fortnite came out in September, and I was professionally earning money in Fortnite that following year in like July, August, June, like somewhere around there. So it was like was that like 8, 9 months since Fortnite came out, and I was
Mm.
actually professionally like earning money in the game.